One decision at midnight changed everything. Elias was a merchant in a small hill country town. His shop stood near the edge of the market road, where travelers passed through on their way to the cities. He sold spices, cloth, and small trinkets to anyone who had coin. By all appearances, Elias was a man who had succeeded in life. He wore fine robes, his shop was neatly kept, and his words were smooth enough to persuade even the most cautious buyer. But behind closed doors, Elias was a weary man, carried debts no one knew of. His heart was bitter with old wounds. And most of all, he had long ago lost the joy of living. As the years passed, his heart hardened. He believed that tomorrow would be no better than today, and perhaps worse. It was on a cold, moonless night that the visitor came. Elias was in his shop long after the lamps in the town had gone dark. He was counting the day's coins, not because he needed to, but because sleep never came easily anymore. The door creaked open, though the wind outside was still. No bell rang, no footsteps sounded. Yet suddenly, a man stood before him. He was tall, cloaked in black from head to toe. His face was pale, his eyes dark and deep, as if they had seen centuries pass. Elias felt a shiver run through him. "Who are you?" he asked. The man placed a small black box on the counter. "I am a buyer," he said, "and I have come to purchase something you possess." Elias narrowed his eyes. "What is in the box?" The man's lips curved into a thin smile. "It is not the box that matters. It is the trade I offer. I will give you more gold than you can spend in one night, in exchange for your tomorrow." Elias frowned. "My tomorrow? What kind of nonsense is this?" "You misunderstand," the man replied. "I do not want your land or your shop. I want your next sunrise. You will have the night, all of it. But when the sun breaks the horizon, your time here will end." Elias laughed, though uneasily. "So you wish to take my life?" The man shook his head slowly. "Your soul will not be mine. That belongs to the one who made it. But your chance to live, to change, to see another day, that is what I seek, and I am willing to pay handsomely." I slid a folded parchment across the counter. A space at the bottom was left for Elias's name. It sounded like madness. But as Elias stared at the paper, his mind began to wander. What had tomorrow ever given him? More debts, more aching joints, more disappointments. What if he could have one night with enough gold to eat the finest food, to drink the rarest wine, to see the world's beauty, and then be done with it all? The thought grew more tempting with each tick of the shop's clock. For a brief moment, Elias remembered something his mother had told him as a boy, a verse she had often recited. "Do not boast about tomorrow, for you do not know what a day may bring." Proverbs 27:1. But that verse had always felt like an old saying with no real weight. And now, with gold promised before him, it felt more like a poetic warning he could ignore. The stranger's eyes bore into him. "One decision, Elias, one signature, and you will never again have to worry about what comes next." The clock on the wall ticked toward midnight. Elias felt the air grow heavy. His chest tightened, but not with fear, with something like resignation. He thought, "Perhaps this is mercy. Perhaps ending tomorrow will end my suffering." The clock struck 12. Without another thought, Elias took the quill and signed his name. The stranger's smile deepened. "The bargain is sealed. Enjoy your last night." In an instant, the counter was covered in gold coins, piled so high they glittered like a sunrise. Elias's eyes widened. He reached out to touch them, warm, heavy, real. But the moment he scooped them into his hands, the coins began to fade. One by one, they crumbled into gray dust and slipped through his fingers. Elias gasped. "What trick is this?" "No trick," the man said calmly. "The gold was never for you to keep. It was only to distract you from what you have truly lost." Elias stumbled into the street. The town was quiet. Stars were hidden. The wind was colder than it had been in years. He tried to enjoy his final hours. He ate the best food he could find, drank strong wine, and wandered the hills outside town. But nothing satisfied him. Every taste seemed empty. Every laugh he forced felt hollow. And everywhere he went, a voice whispered in his mind, "Closer, closer." As the night wore on, Elias found himself standing outside the small stone temple at the edge of town. He had not stepped inside for years. Something drew him in. The air was still, but the faint smell of oil lamps and incense lingered. An old priest was inside, reading from a scroll. He looked up, surprised to see Elias. "It has been a long time," the priest said. Elias sat heavily on a bench. "I have done something foolish," he admitted. The priest closed the scroll. "Then you must ask the Lord for mercy. For as long as there is breath in your body, he can forgive. His mercies are new every morning." Elias's voice shook. "But what if I have no more mornings?" The priest looked at him with deep sadness. "Then you must spend this night making peace with him." Elias stayed in the temple for hours. He told God everything, his bitterness, his greed, his wasted years. He wept until his chest ached. And though he heard no voice in reply, he felt a strange peace, like warm light filling the cold places inside him. When he left the temple, the eastern sky was beginning to pale. Elias returned to the roof of his shop. He sat and watched as the first faint light touched the clouds. It was more beautiful than he remembered, soft, pure, almost holy. He thought about all the mornings he had wasted, all the chances he had ignored to love, to forgive, to build something that mattered. The first ray of sunlight broke over the hills. Behind him, Elias felt a shadow fall across the rooftop. He didn't need to turn. He knew who it was. The stranger's voice was calm. "Your night is over." Elias closed his eyes and whispered, "Lord, into your hands I commit my spirit." And then he was gone. The townspeople found the shop empty the next morning. Some said Elias had left in the night. Others whispered about a dark visitor who had come to claim him. The old priest, however, simply told those who asked, "Every sunrise is a gift from God. You cannot buy it and you cannot sell it. Use it well, for you do not know when it will be your last." The story of Elias is not just about a foolish bargain. It is about the value of each day God gives. You may feel weary. You may think tomorrow holds nothing for you, but more of the same struggles. But Scripture says, "Because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed. For his compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness." Lamentations 3:22-23. Tomorrow could be the day the prayer you've been praying for years is answered. It could be the day you find forgiveness, healing, or a new purpose. Do not sell your tomorrow, not for comfort, not for wealth, not for escape from hardship. For as long as God gives you breath, there is hope. And if you have wasted many yesterdays, remember, his mercy is strong enough to redeem even today.